Good evening and welcome to Prime Business. My name is Winston Taki. Now, the governor of the Bank of Ghana, Dr. Ernest Addison, has disclosed that he inherited a challenging banking sector that had the International Monetary Fund already recommending strict reforms, including the revocation of the banking licenses of UT Bank and Capital Bank. The following report has more.
The banking licenses of the two banks were revoked in August 2017, the same year Dr. Addison assumed office at the central bank. Speaking at this year's Governors' Day, organized by the Chartered Institute of Bankers, Dr. Addison said the Bank of Ghana was faced with no option but to take tough measures in revoking the licenses of the banks to protect the financial sector.
So when this outgoing government took over and tried to bring the IMF program back on track, there are a few requirements which the IMF calls the prior actions. You have to do this, you have to do that, you have to do this. Otherwise, you are not even going to organize a board meeting to discuss Ghana and, disperse.
According to Dr. Addison, the measures taken to clean up the financial sector strengthen the banks to withstand external shocks associated with the COVID-19 pandemic and the Russia-Ukraine war.
Not knowing that the following year, in 2020, we are going to have these external shocks coming in terms of the COVID-19 pandemic and then the Russia-Ukraine crisis. I'm not one of those who would want to blame the developments in Ghana only on the external factors. Yes, there were domestic vulnerabilities. The Bank of Ghana has been very consistent in our assessment of the direction of fiscal policy throughout 2019. But the vulnerabilities were there. And then, unfortunately for us, the global shocks also came in terms of this pandemic, and then in terms of what happened to the Russia-Ukraine. And the fiscal policy response to these shocks was, again, very expansionary fiscal policies, which only aggravated the vulnerabilities that we had in place.
Now, financial economist Dr. Benjamin Amoah has reiterated the challenges some banks face as a result of liquidity and therefore urging the central bank to increase the capital requirements that financial positions of some of the banks need to ensure their liquidity is increased, especially to 400 million cedis.
Around that time, non-performing loans were high, and some of the banks were indeed struggling in terms of operations. And as a central bank, if you have banks that are having difficulties, you don't want to keep these difficult or struggling banks in the system because of the contagion effect that it can have on the entire banking system. So clearly, with the central bank having the details of the extent of trouble or the extent of difficulties within the banking sector at that point in time, there was a need for some form of, cleansing or some form of reform to take place. What they did was to increase the minimum capital. One of the conditions was to increase the minimum capital from 120 million to 400 million. That was one of the strategies to build the muscles or the balance sheets of the entire banking sector at that point in time. As we speak now, we may even have to revisit that particular decision and increase the capital base of the banks again, looking at what has happened over time and the fact that price levels have increased and the CD has weakened over time. So it is indeed true that there was a need for the cleanup to take place.
Now, professional services firm Deloitte is forecasting a further decline in inflation in 2025 due to a more stable cedi and falling domestic food prices. According to the leading global firm, inflation will average 11.9% next year. The following report has more.
Ghana's inflation declined in 6 of the 11 months so far in 2024, thanks partly to the effect of high interest rates. As of November 2024, the country's inflation rate was 23%, a far cry from the government's year-end target of 15%. Ghana's 11 months of 2024 inflation average as 22.85%, down from 2023's average of 40.28%. Deloitte West Africa revealed this in its sneak preview of 2025. It explained that the declining trend is projected to continue in 2025 at an average of 11.9%. This is still above the upper band of the Bank of Ghana's 8% plus or minus 2% inflation target. It added that a more stable cedi easing domestic food prices and warning supply-side pressures will contribute to the projected decline in Ghana's inflation rate.
Moving on, the Bank of Ghana is seeking public input over its new set of draft regulations for digital financial services. George Biafe has more in this report.
The draft regulations is part of what the Bank of Ghana describes as open banking rules that will lead to the adoption of financial services for the digital space. It will also ensure that they have improved payment systems in the financial sector. This draft, the central bank argues that, was done in collaboration with key stakeholders in the sector. The Bank of Ghana maintains that these new regulations will also help ensure that the Ghanaian financial sector remains secured, efficient, and globally competitive. The central bank believes that it is not done yet. That is why it is still seeking some input from the public when it comes to this draft regulation. This will ensure that before this becomes the final set of regulations for the sector, all those who are playing in this space are aware of everything and how it is seeking to ensure the sector is safe and has the required laws comparable to any financial sector all over the world.
Some stakeholders within the public TVET space are calling on industry players to forge partnership in supporting young people. Volta Regional Director of TVET Service and Head of Monitoring and Evaluation at NVTI, Christian Agoda, says this is key to preventing the creation of artificial jobs but sustainable ones. He spoke to Joy Business at the mega graduation ceremony of Trinity Expertise Institute.
Some 285 students graduated, received certificate after completing courses in plumbing, cosmetology, and forklifting, among others. Volta Regional Director of TVET Service and Head of Monitoring and Evaluation at NVTI, Christian Agoda, expresses delight in seeing young people striving to earn a living and make an impact in life.
Talking about partnership with industry, you know, when it comes to skill development, people that went through skills training go into industry to work. What that means is that the educational institution, TVET institutions, are producing the manpower that industry needs for their businesses. So if industry invests in TVET delivery, they are indirectly helping to develop the human capital that they need for their production.
Director of Trinity Expertise Institute, Victor Ajale, stressed the need for more investment in TVET.
So we are just here to celebrate them and also make sure we assess them to see what they've done, if they've really done well. And also I would like to use this opportunity to encourage everybody to enroll in TVET education. Our today's word, if you don't have a skills, you can't go forward because everything is now skills based and you need to be your own boss. So to the youth out there, you can go to school, that's fine, but you have to make sure you have a practical skills at hand.
One of the students, Sarah Opoko, expressed her delight.
Coming here, I had no idea of cosmetology, but within 6 months, the school instilled in me anything I need to know about cosmetology. And trust me, the school has really transformed me. When I was coming, like I said, I didn't know anything.
The graduation was under the theme, Making a Difference.
Thank you for watching Prime Business. My name is Winston Taki. Coming up next is Prime Sports. Stay tuned.